I'll bring up my screen again. Welcome everybody. This is my third favorite day of the year. Second favorite is judges training. First favorite is obviously the tournament. So we are looking forward to a great day at a great new site with more great teams than we had last year and the year before and the year before that. We've seen a lot of growth over the last couple of years. So we are really excited for this tournament for so many reasons. But I think the most excited for having a new site, which means the growth has happened, which is all I care about at this point. The rest of this, I have a fantastic board that is helping me put things together, that is doing all of the work. And I just sort of sit around and wait for them to get it all done. And they've been phenomenal. There are some people in the waiting room. Let me see if I can figure out how to let them in. Um, I'm not seeing it. Hey, Fran, can you see if there's anyone in the waiting room?
I think you've let everybody in
Okay.
so far, but I'll keep an eye
Okay,
on
cool.
it.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Um, so tonight you're going to hear from a few of us. You'll hear from me. You'll hear from our tournament directors. That's Michelle Breton and Sherry Long, who I've convinced to speak on this call tonight. I'm really excited for that. And then you'll hear from Fran Bodkin, who you probably have heard from already. She's our coaches coordinator. She is the woman with all of the answers. And for any answers she doesn't have, she just emails me. But Fran, I have not heard from you a lot this year, which
I
makes me
haven't
believe.
gotten a lot of questions, but I hope you guys are ready to ask your questions tonight
Yes,
because
please,
we've got a good
please.
collective mind here to answer. And this recording, I know I already replied in the chat. There were some questions that parents were hoping to get. We're going to have this whole recording sent out to you all so that you can share information with whoever in your groups needs to know it.
Yes, ma'am. So we are going to get to it. If you do have a question as we go, please drop it in the chat. Fran will answer those for us. If she can't answer them, I will pause at some point throughout the course and make sure we're all up to speed. So before we dive in, I don't know if you can tell, everything's been comic book themed this year. From my presentation to the shirt that I'm wearing. This is this year's shirt. Um, Super excited. Super excited. I'm super excited every year. But this is going to be great. So here's what we're going to go over tonight. We are going to introduce you to Edward Little High School. We are going to show you this high school. We are going to tell you where to park when you get to the high school, which is always a big bone of contention with wherever we are. We will talk about registrations and forms and the expectations for our coaches when you do arrive at the school. We will introduce you to our performance sites, what our spontaneous procedure will be, which is the same and similar as it was last year. The meanwhile is what else is happening when you aren't doing OM on April 5th. There will be plenty to do and see. We will try to keep you as occupied as we possibly can because we would like as many for you to stick around for awards at the end of the day. And we will also talk a little bit about World Finals right there at the end of this meeting. But first, I want to tell you about my favorite thing from last year's tournament. Every year I get a new favorite thing. I think last year is going to be tough to beat. So these kiddos that you're looking at right now are our Odyssey Inclusive team from last year. If you are not familiar with Odyssey Inclusive, this is a tailor-made program based on Odyssey the Mind for kids who have been identified as IDD, that's intellectual and developmental delays. These are kids that generally aren't mainstreamed. They're not in classrooms the whole time. They form cohorts with some very caring teachers, and they progress through an educational journey far different than a lot of their classmates. So Odyssey Inclusive is designed for kids that meet that criteria. And this is our little team from Lemoyne who joined us last year. They were one of three teams in the world. This was a pilot program that we piloted with Northern California. So these seven kiddos were these were 7 of 20 kids did inclusive last year. Happy to say that it is growing this year. We have doubled the number of teams we have. We'll have 2 Odyssey inclusive teams. But that was one of my favorite parts of the day. But my favorite moment came right after they performed. So after our kids presented, they went off to do spontaneous. And if you remember at last year's tournament, we had spontaneous in a different part of the school, down in a basement, the dungeon, I like to call it. But we did not send our inclusive kids down there. We sent them to another room. And when I was walking them down the hall to spontaneous, Hope, who's the girl in the white, she stopped me in the hallway and she said, "Mr. Jason, where are those kids going?" I said, "Hope, they're going to do spontaneous." And Hope looked at me and she says, "But aren't we doing spontaneous?" I'm like, "Yep, you're doing spontaneous, and so are they." And she stopped, like, we're stopped dead in the middle of the hallway, and she looks at me. And if you're familiar with the dad cry, it's that moment when like words and feelings get stuck in your Adam's apple. Absolute dad cry moment. She looked at me, Hope looked at me and said, "Mr. Jason, so we are just like the rest of the kids now, right?" And I just about lost it in that hallway when I realized what Odyssey Inclusive meant to these kids. For us, it was just a great program that I'm looking forward to. For them, it was the opportunity to be just like the rest of the kids. Their performance was so strikingly similar to a Division 1, Division 2 performance. They did a great job. A lot of them think this is their gateway to bigger and better things, and I'm sure it is. And they will be back with us this year to perform their Odyssey inclusive presentation at the end of the day. I hope you can all stick around and find time to go see them and our kids from Wyndham Primary School who are taking part. So that's my favorite part. That was my favorite part from last year.
Hey,
I still get
Jason,
goosebumps. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. There is someone from Biddeford that says they are waiting to get into the meeting. I don't know if
Okay.
she's on the correct link, if you see her in the waiting room. If not, I'll resend her the link.
Yeah, could you resend me the link? I don't
Yep.
have a waiting room, and I think Rebecca Miller needs to get into.
Okay, thank you.
No, she got it. Yeah, so if people are still waiting, please send them the link. I don't have waiting room access for some reason. All right, so back to the map and back to introducing you to Edward Little High School. This is a beautiful new school. I very begrudgingly went to visit this school this fall because I am partial to Noble for a couple of reasons. One, it's 20 minutes from my house, and that's really it. Auburn's a little bit more of a hike. So I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work because I'm not a planner. I like to shuttle things back and forth from my house. This has forced me to plan. There is no way I was saying no to this school after we went on the site visit. If your parents or you need to know what to punch into your GPS, you punch in 77 Harris Drive in Auburn, Maine, and that will bring you right to Edward Little High School. That's 77 Harris Drive in Auburn, Maine. When I say the school is big, it is big. This building is, I don't know, gigantic. It's 3 floors. There is plenty of parking at this school. In the green, I'm showing you where you are allowed to park, where you and your parents are allowed to park. If it is red, do not park there. So do not park on the main drag when you're coming in and out of the school. And that little red area in the middle, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes why you cannot park there. There should be plenty of parking at this school all around the backside. There's parking kind of on the side of the building. There is parking. So please stick to the spots. And I don't want to have any awkward conversations with the cops later in the day. Amy Novak, you have your hand up, my friend.
Is it Harris with the P or Harris with an H?
Say that again.
What was the name of the street?
Harris.
Harris. Okay, thank you.
Harris.
Jason,
Bring the map back up.
if I could add, since I'm relatively familiar with this site, there is parking in the back of the building. That said, it's not nearly as wide, and we do have teams that will be loading and unloading props on the back. So I guess I would say be mindful of that.
That's where we're putting a lot of our judges. It is there. I don't think we'll need it just based on the size of Noble and how full we were last year. I think we'll be okay. Just make sure you're parked in a spot. Do not park on the big main road. We have been told there will be patrols coming through. So just be mindful unless you want to pay for a parking ticket and support the local economy in the worst way possible. So here's the school, and the reason I'm showing it to you in this grainy overhead view is it almost overlays perfectly to our map. All our performance sites will take place on the first floor. Sounds like a lot, but I gotta tell you, the school is huge. The hallways are wide. Everything is seemingly spread out, but right on top of each other. It's actually a very good flow. The only thing that's going to be different is spontaneous is going to be way up in the sky. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So when you get to the school, you know how big the school is. We're going to show you where your sites are in a little bit. But we want to be very clear about what our expectations for our coaches when you get there. Believe it or not, I am a stickler about the paperwork here because if anything is going to take our tournament off the rails, it is going to be redoing and finishing and finalizing and changing paperwork. So huge stickler. And Fran, I would really love it for you to tell our coaches again what it is they need to bring and how it is it needs to show up when it gets to tournament day. Fran, you out there? You're on mute. Oh, Fran's on mute. I'll give her a second. All right. I'm going to steal it from you, Fran. All right. So, coaches, we've gone through the paperwork. I know Fran has sent you the paperwork. I want to be very clear about what you will need when you show up. You will need 4 long-term lists. You'll need 4 style forms. Some of those style forms are specific to the problem you're doing. We'll talk about that in a minute. You will need an outside assistance form and you will need a cost form. When you show up to register, at registration, Fran and our team will check that you have these forms, but the accuracy of the forms will be checked at the performance site. So you can't ask, is this right? Did I do this properly? All they're going to see is that you have the forms. When you go to staging at your performance site, the staging judge will pull all that paperwork from you. They will check it. They will work with the team if need be, and then they will pass it off to judges. But be sure as a
Don't be
coach.
obnoxious.
Hey, Rebecca, you can go on mute, but I agree. When you show up, please make sure you have all of these forms. So let's talk about those forms. The first one is the team list. This is your team's chance to tell us what they are going to be judged on, to describe to our judges what they are going to be judged on, and to make sure that it is so clear what they are going to be judged on that our judges can just sit back and enjoy their performance and not try to decipher all of the words on this form. In that sense, we do allow coaches to fill out this form for Division 1. It has to be the kids' words. You are the transcriber, but if the only way to make it legible is to have a coach fill it out, then please feel free to go ahead and do that. It can be typed also. There's a editable Word doc. There's also an editable PDF that they can use. So if you do feel more comfortable typing it, please go ahead and do that. When I say make it super clear what the judges should be looking for, do your best to add as much description as you possibly can. Our team, especially in problem 5, are going to be watching upwards of like 27 teams all day. It's a lot. It's a lot to watch for. It's a lot to remember.
3.
And I want my judges to sit and watch and enjoy. And if they can just look at the paperwork and say, there's what I'm judging, I promise you, you will see your scores raised when judges have to think less about what it is the team is doing, and they can just sit and enjoy. If you have any questions about what makes for a clear team list, please ask us.
I'm so sorry. And I just rejoined with my phone because
all good. I thought it might be an internet issue, Fran. Yep. I thought it might be.
So I jumped back on.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do the style form? You want me to keep going?
Keep going.
All right, great. All right, style form. Same thing. We need you to bring 4 copies of the style form. There are 2 kinds of style form. There's a blank form, and then there's a problem-specific style form. all of them will need the same exact thing written on them. If you are using the blank form, what you need to know is that sections or criteria 1 and 2 are mandated by the problem. If you flip to the back side of the problem, you see what those style categories are going to be. 1 and 2 are already spelled out for every single one of our problems. Those need to appear in 1 and 2 in that order. If they are out of order, we will ask the team to switch the order. Please don't ask us to make the team do that. Make sure that 1 and 2 are written exactly as they are in the problem you've selected. 3 and 4 is different. Those are team selected criteria. So those are props, backgrounds, sets, scripts, whatever passion the team wants to share with us. That is what sections 3 and 4 are for. 1 or 2 caveats with that. They can't be something that's already being judged in the long term. So, for instance, if a team wants to be judged on their creative propulsion of their vehicle in problem 1, they can. We're already judging that in the vehicle. But they can be judged on anything else outside of what they're being judged on in long term. They can't double dip on style. Make sure the team picks the things I'm going to be careful how I say this. They should pick the things that they are the most proud of, that they have put the most effort into, that they have really displayed their passion they have for the skill they have created, or the skill they grew, or the skill they already had. Invariably, teams may or may not select the thing that the coaches look at and be like, please pick that. You can't say that. You got to let the team figure it out on their own. There's a lot of easy ways to coax a team to identify the things that they've spent a lot of time on. Sometimes just saying, hey, what are you the most proud of? Might be the question that answers 3 and 4. And be as specific as possible too. So this goes back to that clarity I talked about in the team list form. If you want to be judged on the penguin costume, and there are 3 penguin costumes, and there is one specifically that the kids absolutely busted their butts on, make sure that that's the one they're being judged on. Don't just say the penguin costume, because then judges see there's 3 of them, and now they have to ask more questions and get to the heart of it. They spend a lot of time just trying to figure out what they should be judging. And again, the more time our judges think about what it is they maybe should be judging, we see scores start to dip. So be really clear. Have your teams be really clear with what they want to be judged on. All right, big one for me. The outside assistance form. You've got to have 1 copy of this, and you have to account for all of the kids who contributed to the solution throughout the year. We have this a lot every year where we start in November, and by January or February, there are kids who just don't want to do it. They don't show up. If they did anything with the solution, contributed an idea, any sort of material contribution, they have to be on this form. They have to be on the form. We still hold all of our teams to that no more than 7 team members. So please call out those kids who are with you on the day, or maybe who couldn't make it to the day. Also, I really appreciate when coaches are honest with us and teams are honest with us, and they call out if there was some kind of outside assistance. The most common outside assistance we see was, we helped the kids cut the wood because it wasn't safe. We use a hot glue gun because it wasn't safe. While I find that notable and admirable, please try to find a way for the kids to do it themselves. If maybe using a table saw isn't the safest way to do it, maybe there's another way that the kids can figure out how to cut that piece of wood. If you did do something, if a parent did something, if a coach did something, please let us know. We'll give you the hey, heads up penalty. We've got to know that it is there, or else we can't really. We're going to spend, again, more time trying to figure out, was there outside assistance? So please call that out for us. And then the last one is the cost form. Every problem, you've seen it, has a budget. You can't go over, I think for the most part, the $145. On this cost form, you need to account for, the team needs to account for everything that appears in the solution. So if you bought a gallon of paint for $20 and you only used a half a gallon of paint, math would say that paint should be accounted for about $10 on your cost form. Any recycled items, any trash items, anything like that, everything needs to have a cost applied to it. These can be very low. These can be 1 penny, 2 penny, 3 penny, $1. Whatever that number is, everything has to have a cost assigned to it, unless it's something like a classroom chair, desks, tables, like stuff that's ubiquitous that you can get anywhere. That stuff doesn't have a cost. If you use an iPhone for music or a computer for a projection, those have a fixed cost assigned to them. My suggestion to all of you is, if you have a question about what should I assign this a cost to this item, check the program guide, which you can find online. You can find on the Odyssey website. Many of you probably already have it. Just make sure that everything is accounted for, and those things that have set costs, as outlined in the program guide, are written down and called out on your cost form. Lindsay, you have a question.
I do. So I'm coaching a problem, is it 4, the structure one? And I just want to make sure I have this correct. The balsa wood that we ordered does not count towards our budget, correct? Or does
I can't remember. It should be written down in the problem or in the program
Don't
guide.
believe it does, because it has,
does?
and I don't think it does. I'll look, Lindsay,
I
but
think it's only the wood that you use in the structure that you're having crushed that you put a cost on.
No,
Everything else doesn't cost.
in problem 4, it says in the directions that the wood that is actually used to build the structure is not,
Okay.
does not have to be cost. And also there are exempt items, Jason, things like cardboard. If they go outside and pick up rocks and sticks, things that are going to be recycled, those are exempt. So that's what they actually put in the cost portion.
Okay, perfect. I was filling the paperwork out with my team this week and I came across it and I didn't have the problem handy, so I just wasn't sure. Thank you.
Good question, Lindsay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other forms questions?
I have just a couple thoughts about that. So again, it's fine you can even in one line list things like cardboard, plastic bottles, and you can write exempt on the line if you want to account for what you used and list it out. The cost tends to throw people for a loop, but again, there are some guides in the program guide. Also, it's really just about keeping the playing field even for everybody.
Correct.
So we're not trying to catch anyone doing anything. We just don't want anyone to go out and buy the solution to their problem, right? So kind of keep that in mind when you're filling it out. The other piece is everyone kind of gets a little stressed out if someone moved away. Just write their name on that team list form. You don't need to have them sign it. It does say signature. You have your current kids sign it. You don't need to go to New Jersey and track someone down to get them to sign the participation form. It's okay. Just write their name.
Correct. Correct.
Don't panic about that. That's usually
Also, 9-year-olds signing legally binding documents. I don't know if that's still legal yet. Maybe, I don't know.
right. Just write their name in if they move.
Just write their name.
Or
but make sure they're all accounted for.
Just make sure you count them in and don't worry about the signature.
That's right.
When I check your forms, when you come to the registration table, we're going to check to make sure you have everything you need. That way, if you need to complete more copies, you'll be able to do it then and there, but we will not have access to a copier to do those forms. So what we will have are pens and blank forms and sad children if they have to make new copies by hand. But that's always a possibility. We're not looking at your forms when you check in necessarily for accuracy. So the judges are going to possibly ask you for more information when they look it over when you're in the staging area. So just know it's okay. The judges might just want some clarification from the team to add to the form if they need it. That's okay.
Correct. And
Okay.
always consult the program guide. Always consult the program guide.
Can I
I'll
add
say
something to Jason?
Yeah.
I would suggest also keeping a copy of the forms for yourself, because you will not get these copies back. And
Correct.
if you go on to Worlds, you might not want to have to recreate them from scratch. You could, or if you choose to adjust anything, you'll at least have them as a starting point.
Correct. Yep, absolutely. Some examples of things they might ask about the form, they might just ask for some clarification and say, you know, what part of the costume are you wanting us to look at? Or, you know, when am I going to be looking for this event or transformation to take place? They may just look for a little bit of information. The judges are looking for information to help them score the things the kids want scored and to give them the most points as possible. There are no more membership numbers. People were asking about membership numbers. And your membership name is whatever name your membership was taken out in, whether it was taken out in the school's name or a library's name or a recreation center's name, whatever you registered under is your membership name.
There are, for some of our memberships and some of our schools, there are a Team A Team B. Wyndham even has a Team C. So to those coordinators who are on, and I believe you are all on, if you do not know which team has been assigned Team A, B, and C, please let me know. It makes a huge difference when we start to calculate scoring at the end of the day. So if you need a refresher, I will happily send those to you. After this, just send me a quick email. Let me know that I don't know who's assigned to what, and we will let you know who is assigned to what.
And when we send out this recording, I will resend copies of the forms again, just so they're easy to find if they're buried in former emails.
Eli, Team A, B, and C, yes, are only if there are teams in the same problem, division, and same school. I think you guys are all set. I don't think we had to assign A, B, or C to anyone in your membership. It's generally for like the bigger memberships who have, in York's case, 15 teams, or Wyndham's case, 13 teams. You would know already if you were an A, B, or C. But I will remind you all if it comes to that. All right, team reminders. Speaking of reminders, we do have some do's and some don'ts when you get there. Teams, coaches. Please do your best to arrive on site at least 90 minutes before. This is not a mandatory do. This is a strong suggestion. We'll call it that. I'm probably going to be on site at 5:45 because I do not sleep the night before tournament. I'm assuming Sherry and Michelle will be there right around that time too, and Fran and half of our judges. We'll all be there pretty early. The building will be open. So if you are one of those lucky few who gets to go at 8 o'clock, just know that if you show up at 6:30, we will be there already, probably on our like third or fourth cup of coffee and or energy drink. When you get there, send one coach over to get registered. We do not need the whole team. We don't need everybody. We just need one coach with those forms, asking any remaining questions that you have. But get there, make sure your team gets settled in, make sure they start getting ready. We are asking our teams to arrive at staging 20 minutes before they are set to perform. That 20 minutes is critical for so many reasons. One of which is like just making sure that our little guys are calm and they're not nerved up. They might be nerved up. We'll be more nervous than they are, quite frankly. But it gives them time to chill and hang out with our staging judges who are really good at settling our kids in. It also gives us time to go through those forms. We talked about how important those forms are. At staging, this is where you will go over the accuracy of those forms. Generally, when teams have to start making changes, we're looking like 5 to 10 minutes worth of extra conversation, extra talk, extra nerves. So if those forms are all good before you get to staging, we skip all that and it's just hanging out for an extra 20 minutes. I said have all your forms. Also have foot coverings. It sounds like, yeah, obviously we're all going to wear shoes. You actually all have to wear shoes or some form of bottom foot covering. We cannot let our kids perform if they're not wearing shoes. No socks, just shoes, make sure everyone's covered. I don't want anyone stepping anything, stubbing a toe and getting hurt before they go on to perform. And then another do, go and support everyone, support your community, support teams in the same problems, support teams in other problems from other communities. Make sure that your teams and even a lot of our coaches and families go around and see what else is happening throughout the day. There's so much going on. There's so many other great problems. I would love for all of our kids to be exposed to all of it. And of course, like the obvious do all the time forever, have fun. You will have fun. Promise you'll have fun. There's that stress, and then there's more fun. So make sure you do that. The don'ts. All right, don't do any outside assistance. Just don't do it. Okay. We walk around every year, and I love looking at the coaches, and you're all trying so hard to not touch and kick and tie and redo the thing because it'll only take you 5 seconds. Just don't do it. Resist the urge to be a parent for 2 seconds. Let the teams figure it out. You can definitely ask if things are, hey, is everything good? Is everything put together here? Is anything obviously going to fall down within the next 2 seconds? That's cool. Teams got to do it though. Don't focus on the outcome. So much of the fun with Odyssey is the journey our kids take to get there. Things happen during performances. Kids forget lines. Things fall apart. Things fall down. Invariably, the thing that's been running on batteries for a month and a half and has worked perfectly every time is not going to work. It doesn't matter. What matters is what the kids are learning as they're going through the process, as they're working with their teams. Yeah, the payoff, the 8 minutes at the end of the year, that's the biggie. But don't focus on the income. And don't worry too much about what your scores are right away. We'll talk about spontaneous in a minute, the great equalizer. Just focus on your kids having a good time. Don't forget your sticky notes. Sticky notes are my favorite part of the whole program. If you've never done Odyssey and you don't know what I'm talking about, sticky notes are some positive comments that our judges leave with the scores. So for every presentation that our judges see, they're going to find their favorite thing and they're going to call it out. Things like, I loved your costume, your singing was amazing, I loved the rhyming in your script. Those are the kind of notes you'll get from our judges. I don't remember any of the scores I got through my entire Odyssey career. I remember reading the sticky notes. It's that positive affirmation that we're all looking for. Please share those with the team. If you share anything with the team, share that with the team for sure. I mentioned it. Don't miss out on seeing other problems. Go check them out. They're so much fun this year. There's so much other stuff happening in those problems. Go look, go watch. And then my last don't is don't not enjoy the experience. For our kids, it's been like the longest 4 months of their life. For our coaches, it's probably been the longest year and a half of your life. It may have taken a year and a half off of your life. I don't know. But when you get there, this is going to be it, right? It's so much fun. There's so much kind of emotion that's tied up in it. My ask is just like, step back, remember why you do this, remember why the kids do this, and enjoy the entire day. There's going to be so much to enjoy, and just try to find those little moments here and there that you can just relax, enjoy, and have fun with your team and your parents. Any questions up to this point?
There has been a question in the chat about when can we help the team carry things. Yes, you can help them unload things from the car for certain, bring stuff in the building. You cannot help them repair or assemble anything that you have brought in. You know, you can kind of help shepherd them down the hallway. And once you get to that pre-staging area, you're leaving and then they've got it from there. So they really need to be able to, while it's all assembled, get it down the best they can, because they're going to be carrying it out onto the performance area. When the performance is over, when the judges give you the signal that they are done talking to the team, and then everybody, all hands on deck, come help clean that performance area off. Parents, grandparents, volunteers, siblings, get it cleaned out as efficiently as possible so that the next team has a free and open space to start their process.
Yes, all of that. I will.
Can I ask? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just ask one follow-up question? So in the pre-staging area, so if they have Rubbermaid containers or just boxes that have nothing to do with the actual performance, but are physically to help just transport props and things, does that get left in pre-staging or a staging area off stage that they just were allowed to keep all of our extra containers and things?
Really good question, Heather, and I'm about to tell you the answer to that right now.
Okay, and then there's one
It-
follow-up that maybe you're
Yes.
also going to answer, and then I'll stop talking.
Okay.
If they have a box, let's say that it just contains stuff that they're setting up, but it's behind like their scenery, that box would have to be on the cost form or a Rubbermaid container would be on the cost form because technically it would be in the performance.
No one's ever asked me that question, Heather.
Sorry.
Okay, Heather, congratulations.
Go
37
Heather.
years.
Thank
No one's ever asked me that question before.
Okay.
Well done. You did it. You stumped me. No, if it's
We don't.
if it is physically going to be on stage, yes, it needs to be addressed. My assumption is not going to be a $45 Rubbermaid container, however. It can have an assigned cost, a very low value. But I will address your second question starting just about right now. All right, so we're going to take you through the performance sites. We're going to take you through the traffic flow. We're going to show you doors and the area you're performing in, and even the direction you are performing in. So we are going to start at problem 1. That is our vehicle problem. That is going to be in the gym. Problem 1 and problem 4 are going to be sharing a problem site. They will be performing one at a time. Problem 4 will go first. Problem 1 will go after. For all of this will be the same for both. The holding is going to be in this very long hallway adjacent to the gym. There is a door around back that will have a sign on it that will say problem 1 and problem 4 drop off. It will be very clear. Jerry does a phenomenal job of making signs. It will not be a secret where you want to bring your props. I'm saying bring them around to the back as much as possible, knowing full well that once we open the doors, people are just coming in wherever they are closest to a door. This is the safest location that will be dedicated to problem 1 and problem 4. So way in the back of this hallway, around the back side of the building. You'll have this whole holding area. Heather, to answer your question, and it doesn't matter what problem you're doing, in that holding area, you may keep things there for a short period of time. So after your team is done performing, we strongly suggest that you kind of clear out of the holding area, pick up all the extra stuff you have, take any trash with you. If you do leave something out in that hallway while the team's performing, absolutely fine. Just make sure you come back and address it. Don't leave it in the middle of the hallway. Like, be courteous. That's my big ask. But yes, anything that is not being used in performance can be left in the holding area. The staging area, you can't really see it. There's a door with a maroon border around it. That'll be the staging area. It's outside of the gym. It's where they will check their forms, work with our staging area judge, and make sure all the nerves are just totally chill. This is the inside of the gym. Clearly, looks a lot like a gym. That door in the yellow box, that will be the team entrance. The team entrance will be that door in the corner of the room. All these bleachers will be pulled out. Your teams will present toward the bleachers. They will present toward the audience. Do not present toward the judges. They will have a table sort of off to the side somewhere. Please perform to the parents who have supported these kids throughout the entire year and want to see them. I want to hear them. Our judges will move around. Specifically in these technical problems, they will absolutely move around to make sure that lines are and are not being crossed, that the vehicle is going where the vehicle needs to go. Judges will move around. I'm begging all of our teams, please present toward those open bleachers, toward the audience. Let their parents hear them loud and clear. Problem 2 is going to be right across the hall in the auxiliary gym. And I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sometimes I have a hard time with those like weird looking words. I mumble them. In any event, right across the hallway, that is where we're going to have problem 2, our technical problem. There is a side entrance right next to this gym where teams can bring their props in. There's also a door around here. Teams can bring their props in there as well. They again will have a big long hallway where they can hold all of their stuff. Where this mural is actually going to be the spectator entrance for this problem. In this classroom is where we will do staging. So they'll hold in the hallway. They will stage in this classroom. Big open window, no secrets here. This is where teams will get their paperwork checked. Through this door right here on the left-hand side, they will enter the auxiliary gym. That orange square is where they will enter, and they will perform facing the back wall, facing those big windows. So we will have chairs and a judge's table sort of set up over here in the 3-point area. So teams will want to present toward the back wall, toward the windows, toward their families, and our judges will move around as they have to make sure that they are catching every angle of a problem 2 performance. Problem 3, we have put you in a nice, quiet, long hallway just off the cafeteria. I know saying something is just off the cafeteria sounds like maybe it's not quiet. Trust me, it's going to be totally quiet, I hope. You will be presenting in room 158. There will be a prop drop-off area right around the backside of the building. Please bring your props in there. Coming through the cafeteria is a really bad idea. It's a really bad idea. That's going to be mobbed with people. It's going to be very busy. Try your best not to bring your props in the front door through the cafeteria. I don't want anything bad to happen. Bring them around the back. You will hold basically down this entire hallway. So this hallway goes all the way down. It curves around to the left. There's a ton of room for all 27 of our teams that will be performing in this problem. We're trying something new this year, and it's going to work. It's not new to the world. It's new to us. Teams are going to be rotating on a 15-minute schedule. So generally in the past, there's like 20 minutes per team, which is like not a ton of time. And 15 minutes sounds like even less time because it is. But what we're going to do is start the day with a Division 1 team going at 8 o'clock. There'll be a Division 2 or 3 team that then goes at 8:15. We'll have 2 sets of judges for Division 1 specifically and Division 2, 3 specifically. And those judges will just follow those teams into the room, and then we'll follow them out. Our teams and our judges will spend the same amount of time together as they would if we were running on like a 20 or a 25-minute schedule. But this rotating schedule allows us to use one room, one site for all 27 teams. It is going to be as controlled chaos as possible. This will be your performance site. It's not the prettiest place in the world, and trust me, these dangling outlets will be zip tied and stuck to the ceiling. They will not be dangling. We'll also have it set up a little nicer. Teams will come into the room and they will present toward the back of the room. Behind them is some shelves, a sink. There's a ton of performance space. When they're done, they're going to go right back out this back door. That back door essentially drops them out into the hallway. Spectators can go back out in the cafeteria. Teams can take their props out of the way, back down the hall and holding, and out the door they came in. Any questions about problem 1, 2, or 3 at this point?
There
I have a
is
question.
in the chat.
Yes.
My question is, they're coming in and out of the same door, am I correct?
When on to the performance site?
Well, yeah. You pointed out no. Okay.
So I'll go back.
Okay.
So this will be the door. This will be the door the teams come into.
Okay.
Just the teams. When they leave, they will leave out the back door. There's 2 doors in this room.
Okay.
So they'll leave out the back door.
They
where the
come in one
spectators are
door and
going.
leave out the other door.
Correct. So just a big circle.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah. So
thank
they
you.
won't be, no teams will be jamming up on top of each other trying to come in and out the same door.
That was the vision I had, and I knew.
Alva, that's my fear every year, that we don't have a site that we can run in a circle. This one we can run in a circle.
Can I ask a
Good
couple
question.
of questions?
Great question.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
I am a first timer, so if my questions are, I don't know, silly, please just bear with
Ask
me.
them. Ask them.
So for problem theory, they're performing in this classroom.
Yes.
And how many people can watch their performance? Like, does it fit a lot of people?
It fits. This room is deceptively big. It will fit a lot of people. We're going to put about 50 chairs in there.
Okay.
And that's probably like I think that's the low end. The first row will be reserved for our judges who will kind of go in and out. And then everything else will be full of chairs for spectators. We haven't eyeballed it. It's going to be about 50 though, just based on the size of the room.
Okay, thank you. And my second question and final question, so it kind of seemed like the prop drop off shouldn't happen at the front of the building, sort of based what you said. So can you give me
It
a
should
better
not.
idea of like where would the vehicles go to drop off for that specific problem when they arrive?
Yep. So I'll send these slides out at the end of the day, or at the end of this meeting. When you are looking at the high school, there is a driveway a road all the way around the high school.
Yep.
You go left or right, and it doesn't matter. It all goes to the back of the building.
Okay.
So when I send out that overhead view, you'll be able to see where that area is, and where the props will be dropped off.
So it'll be obvious.
It'll be obvious. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
It'll be as obvious as I can possibly make it.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions, though.
I don't know if everyone who typed a question in the chat got an answer to their questions. I just want to make sure that nobody had anything that they needed to clarify. We had some questions about, is there a diagram for each obstacle occurs on the floor in problem 1? Can the team view the stage ahead of time? So, and that was kind of answered that yes, teams can view that performance area as long as you are either watching someone else perform or going in between performances. Do all the scenery pieces have to go onto the stage at the immediate start of the 8 minutes? So I'm gonna leave that up to Kurt and Jason to talk about what you need to do as part of your setup. And there was a question about the 10 by 10 performance space. Do all the props have to fit in that space, whether they are using them or not, or can they move stuff in and out of that 10 by 10 space?
So yes, you respond to the first kind of vehicle related question, Fran. Let's see. You can go see the site before the performance. The obstacle, the taped out barriers in problem 1 will be the same taped out barriers that are diagrammed in the problem. So there won't be any changes. There won't be any surprises. If a team comes out and the time starts and they bring their props into the site, those props can be everywhere. And this sort of addresses like the 10 by 10 area. There is no taped out minimum for these problems. The program guide and the problem say there will be at least a 10 by 10 area. That's essentially telling the tournament team like, hey, you've got to find a place that's will hold 10 by 10. You will not have that issue with any of these sites. So anywhere on site that a team wants to set something up, they're absolutely free to do that in what we'll call the performance area. Obviously, you don't want to set stuff in the audience, please don't. That opens you up to outside assistance. So stay on we'll call it the stage for the time being. It'll be more than 10 by 10. Teams can bring anything onto the site they wish. They can use it at any time that they wish. So that should, I hope, answer that question. Julie, you had another one. Teams can view the performance areas. Yes, correct. Oh, Julie, are you just answering questions for us? I appreciate it.
And in terms of having tables and chairs available, we cannot count on us having
correct.
for tables and chairs for you to borrow on the tournament day. So yes, you will need to bring tables and chairs if they're part of your performance. If you're talking about places to sit, then don't worry, we have plenty of places for y'all.
I mean, unless you want like a butt pad on those chairs, they're all hard plastic, so I wouldn't blame you. We're building one of our judges a throne for that very reason.
If it's part of your performance, yes, you will need to supply your own. I think
All
that's
right. I think you got Steph Walsh has her hand up.
Yeah. Hi, Jason. It's Jen and I.
Hi.
So can you go back to that picture for problem 3?
That
So
one?
we're used to being able to so you like let's call it pre-stage in the hallway, and then coaches can help kids go to, let's call it the staging area, which is normally right next to the performance area. And then that's where they start their time. Are you saying that they're starting their time in the hallway for this problem? Okay.
No, we'll bring everyone's coming into the room, kind of off this picture over to the left. There'll be a line where teams will line up behind. That's where they'll start from. They won't start from the hallway step.
Okay, so we're still allowed to sort of help them get to that pre-staging area or to that staging area before they start their time?
Yes, you are correct.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's
You're welcome.
About if there is a cost assigned to a table. The guide mentioned chairs, but confirming for tables if there's an associated cost.
I think it's like chairs and desks. I put that in the desks category.
Yep. Are exempt.
All right. Problem 4 will be very familiar to all of you with one change. If you are a structure team, God bless you. I love structure. It's my favorite problem. That's the one I did growing up. All of the things, all of the sites remain the same. The only difference is your weigh-in room. Your weigh-in room is immediately adjacent to the staging area. If you are a structure team, you have a weigh-in time. You should report to the weigh-in room. You will meet with Nate and Jim, who are our longtime judges. The teams will go in, they will have their structure inspected, they will have their structure weighed, and they will have their structure certified that it is a legal structure. And they will hold onto it until that team goes to perform, which they will perform in the gym from the same holding area with the same staging door in the same exact gym, presenting the same exact way that the vehicle teams did before. The structure, the crusher board will be placed the night before. It's always placed in a pretty convenient area where parents and coaches and teams have easy access and can see it. The weights will be about 2 feet away from the crusher board. And again, our judges will move around to where the team needs them to be so they can properly judge the entire problem. Lindsay, you have your hand up.
I have so many questions.
That's okay.
This is my first time coaching a structure problem. It's my first time ever encountering a structure problem. I did not do this growing up when I did OM. My main question though is, does the entire team have to be there for weigh-in?
No, in fact, I would say the entire team should not be there for weigh-in.
Oh, thank
God. One or two kids who know the structure.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. Because I had a parent freak out when I told him what time our weigh-in was. And it was like, yeah, we won't be an hour and a half away from home at this time on a Saturday morning. And I was like, that's fine. That's okay.
That's cool. Just you need one or two kids. That's all you need.
Okay, perfect.
They didn't let little ADD Jason into the room with the structure. They didn't let me do any of that thing.
Yeah. So, okay.
So no.
Thank you so much.
One or two. You're welcome. All right. Structure. There's only 3 teams. This will be quick. We'll get you in and out in the morning. But again, stick around for the day. It's fun. I'm going the wrong way. All right. Now on to problem 5. Problem 5 gets the single best performance site in this entire school. There is a giant auditorium that you will be presenting in. There'll be a prop drop off around the backside of the school. Are you sensing a theme here? Around the backside of the school, again, it's one big road around that school. Drive around to the back. Jerry has her signs. They will be posted where you bring your props in. There will be 2 different staging areas because just like problem 3, this problem has 27 teams registered, which is a lot of fun and a lot of challenge for us, but we think we've figured it out. So on each side of the auditorium, there'll be a Division 1 staging area and a Division 2 staging area. They will have signs all through those hallways where you need to be. If you're a Division 1 team and suddenly you think those kids standing next to you are in high school, they might be, and one of you is in the wrong spot. So make sure you look at the signs and identify where you should be. On each side of the auditorium, there will be a staging door. You will meet your staging judge there. They will do all the form check. They will do everything they normally do. This site will run on that 15-minute rotating schedule, just like problem 3. The only difference is the performance site is slightly different. We will have Division 1 coming in on one side. We'll have Division 2, 3 coming in on the other, but they will both present on the same stage, facing the same exact way. You can guess it's probably toward the audience. Our judges will be right on stage with the teams. So right after they're done performing, those judges will be right there with them to ask them all about their props and their scenery and their constellations and their humor. So again, there's always one problem that lucks out every year. And this year it's problem 5 that lucks out with the beautiful performance space. Actually, I think it was problem 5 who lucked out last year too. Maybe we should rotate. I'm just thinking next year. We'll rotate next year. All right. And then I would say the best, last but not least, Primary and Odyssey Inclusive will be presenting together in the same room. Primary will start in the morning. Odyssey Inclusive will end our day. Those 2 problems will compete in room 105, right up here at the top. Nice big open space. It's connected to problem 107. That's where your staging area, that will be your staging area. Our teams will go into that room where they will stage and go through their forms. The hallway, again, it's similar to the mirror of the problem 3 hallway. Goes way down the end of the hallway, goes around the corner. There'll be plenty of room for our teams to spread out and make sure they have everything together and created and set up. And then this is the room they will be presenting in. So this, when they come into 107, which is this door at the top, they will step out of 107 into 105, and they will automatically be facing that back wall. Again, this room will be set up like a performance site. So those chairs will be facing forward. We're asking our teams present toward the back of the room, right toward that American flag. And we're going to ask all of our spectators to kind of sit back there. They will all exit. Spectators and teams will exit the same door that spectators came into, but all of the performances will be toward the back of the room. That is for Primary and for Odyssey Inclusive. The one different thing, and I'm going to address spontaneous for Primary now, is we are actually doing Primary and Odyssey Inclusive spontaneous right down here at the end of the hallway. And I'll tell you why that's different in a second. But it keeps our Primary and Odyssey Inclusive kids kind of like in the same area, sort of away from the crazy, but still they get their own level of crazy back there. So spontaneous will be at the end of the hallway. If you look on your schedule, I think it says room 117. So it's just going to be down the end of the hallway. You check in there 20 minutes beforehand. Any questions about Primary or Odyssey Inclusive? Seeing none. How's the chat looking, Fran?
The chat's looking pretty good. There's a question double checking about props for problem 1. Destination props can be near where the team needs to turn the vehicle at 1, 2, 3, but don't have to be inside that taped area, ? So I don't know about The vehicle.
Are you,
That's
are you
me,
talking about
Jason.
the,
Am I?
the taped area for the vehicle?
Yeah, that's me, Jason. Sorry. So I'm just trying to double check because some of our team's props are grander than maybe the space could allow, depending on where they have to fit. Um,
Well, it's a gym, so we should be all right.
Okay. Well, that's what I was hoping. So my question is really like I know there's required destinations and that some of the props help like illustrate the destination. So can those be kind of like outside of that taped area where the cars need to turn? That's what we're hoping and banking on. They can be like as long as they're near the area for that 1, 2, or 3 destination, they can be outside of the taped area.
I'm going to defer to Kurt. This might be, do me a favor. Can you
Yeah.
send this question in an email?
Sure.
Because that I don't want to answer it or have Kurt answer it and us be wrong. That would be a
Okay.
whole lot of bad. So
Yeah.
if you can email us that question, we'll better understand what it is you're kind of, we'll better be able to address it for you.
Sounds good. Okay. And I see that there was like a follow-up of like that there's a line they have to cross. So I'll still send an email because I had a related question about the obstacles too, about like whether those needed to be inside the taped spaces between the destinations, or as long as the car is kind of hitting those lines they need to hit, they can go through the obstacles anywhere between turning for one and turning for the next is kind of my hope. But
Great,
I
great
see a
questions.
thumbs
Yes,
up.
and
Okay.
ask them, and we'll be able to at least give you guidance on them.
Okay, I will still send it in an email just in case, but I
Thank you.
appreciate the that it's sounding like a yes, and I'll still send it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you very
And
much,
another
Amanda.
question, are there stairs in the auditorium? Just not sure if the kids need to practice going up and down stairs with their props.
So there are not going to be stairs when the kids come in. There may be stairs when they exit, but that is when they can have parental assistance with pulling those off. When they are going from vault.
I do not believe there are stairs when they exit either, because they are exiting stage level.
Yes, they're right. Like this exit door over here, and well, we can, yeah, this
No,
exit
they're
door
back.
does have stairs.
Right, but no, I think that's not their exit door, Jason. I think their exit door is behind on the stage itself. Remember, there's
Okay,
multiple
great.
doors. Yep. So
Cool.
I'm pretty
Don't
sure.
worry about the stairs.
Yep.
Stairs
no
are covered.
stairs. for the prop.
No stairs. All right, let's I'm gonna swing back through. All right, spontaneous. Spontaneous, we don't have any pictures of the second floor because it doesn't matter. There are going to be stairs in the lobby again with Sherry signs that say spontaneous check-in is up some stairs. You can go up the stairs. There's also an elevator that'll take you up the stairs. That is where you will check in for spontaneous. They will make sure you have arrived. They will make sure you are who you say you are. That sounds like a silly thing to say, but with so many team A's and B's and C's, we have to make sure you are who you say you are, or who you are, who the team we think you might be. When you check in on the second floor, we're going to send you up to the third floor. If you wonder how secretive we like to keep spontaneous, it's legitimately about 150 feet away from anything else we're doing on tournament day. It's like it might as well be Siberia up there. We'll have a coaches lounge for our coaches to just kind of like hang out, chill, have some water, have some quiet time, not be around a bunch of kids for like 20 whole minutes. We're asking you to be at the site 20 minutes before you check in. Our judges will come. They'll make sure they're taking the proper team back to spontaneous. When your kids are done, they will be brought back to you, hopefully in good spirits, and you can head right back down to the first floor. I do want to talk about the spontaneous procedure real quick. This will be specific for verbal or a verbal hands-on problem. A few years ago, and I love that they made this change, Odyssey started limiting the number of responses a team could give. If you remember Odyssey in the 80s and 90s, when I did it, it was like, just rattle off as many responses as you can, 1 or 3 points, it didn't matter. But if you give 150 responses, chances are you're going to get a high score. And it like led to some pretty not super creative behavior. So Odyssey now limits the number of team responses a team can give during a verbal or a verbal hands-on. This is generally everything I've seen since they started this has been 35 responses. So for a team of 7 kids, that averages out to 5 responses per kid. And they're going to be tracked using these tokens. They're tokens. They're not poker chips. They are tokens that I bought from pokerchips.com. When a team gives a response, they will up a token, one kid at a time. Will pick up a token, put it in a container in the middle of a table, and they will give their response. I cannot emphasize this enough. Pick up a token, put it in a container, give your response. That is what the judges are trained on, and that is what we need the teams to do. I don't want there to be a question of did that response count because it wasn't in the container yet. Token, container, response. Responses can be given at any time, and they can be given in any order. So a team doesn't have to sit in a circle and just go round robin like we used to. If a kid has a lot of creative responses and his team trusts that kid can answer as many times as they want in that team limited response, right? So again, if a team has 35 responses, 35 tokens total, we don't care how the team uses the tokens. They are not going to go over the 35 responses. Did I explain that well enough? Does it make sense?
Yes.
I'm hearing a tentative yes from Lindsay. Okay, good. Again, token, container, response. Token, container, response. Work on the kids with that. Make sure that's the process they're following. Hey, Amy. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, any combination of kid can do the answers.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so it doesn't have to be like 5 answers from each kid. Okay.
No, it does not. They have that's the 35, and we don't care how they spend them. If you're a team of 7 and you have 2 kids that do not like doing verbal spontaneous, not all kids have to do it. It's like the archaic, if one member of the team is stuck, the team is stuck. That does not apply anymore. So if a kid just can't, if a kid just nerves up and clams up and can't think of anything to do, they don't have to take part. That's kind of the best part about teamwork. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and you play to your strengths. So don't worry about every kid having to do something, every kid having to give a response. But make sure the team is really clear on the process and who is going to take part in a verbal problem when you get there. And the same goes for hands-on. Kids should not touch sharp, pointy objects. Myself, teams will know by now what their strengths are, I hope. And if they don't, they're going to learn real soon. All right. Any questions about performance sites, spontaneous, props, anything like that?
There is a question in the chat. There are a couple questions in the chat. One is really a question for style form, Kurt. In problem 5, can the shooting star be a style point?
Please email that question
to Kurt. And his email for
it's already being scored, so the answer is no.
Okay, there you go, guys. It's already being scored. Does the response count if the chip is not put in?
No.
So it's got to go in, guys, for it to count. And yes, it is just the team members in during the spontaneous problem, coaches. And don't ask your team what their question was. They
don't do it.
Instructed not to discuss it with you on any level because we don't want anyone else to have an unfair advantage by hearing what the problem is going to be. So they're told they're not to discuss the problem with you.
Don't discuss the problem. We say it's like you don't want to give teams an advantage, but sometimes you might be putting a team at a disadvantage. So just don't talk about it. Don't ask them about it. Ask them if they did a good job. Ask them if they're happy. Ask them how they feel. Don't ask them what they did. Please. That's one of those, like, if I hear about it, I get really bent out of shape.
And to tell you how serious it is, I struggle to bring the spontaneous judges their lunch because that place is on lockdown. They don't want us up there. So don't ask.
We started letting them out, though. We opened the door. We let them outside. It sounds so mean, but it's so true. All right. If you do, keep putting those
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely, Heather.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand. You'd think like 5 years after COVID, I'd know how to use Zoom and raise my hand. But going back to style. So if something is scored, so I'm going to use ours as an example, like the cooking, we have to make a cooking gadget. So the cooking gadget can't be style because the cooking gadget is already scored in another way. But could a aspect of like how the kids made this certain aspect, like a specific part of it be scored?
So man, Heather, you asked really good questions. In Odyssey, it's a really interesting way of looking at this. There's two ways that we generally are judging something. It's the functionality of or the appearance of.
Yeah.
If something is being judged like a vehicle on the functionality of how the propulsion works or the creativity of how the propulsion works, that's one thing. There's also a chance for teams to say, hey, well, it also looks really nice and we're not being judged on that. So can we be judged on that? The answer is yes. I would say this though, with your cooking gadget, be really, really, really careful. In fact, in a lot of ways, like don't even tempt fate with it. Specifically on that gadget, because I think it's a fairly decent part of the problem. And again, these are these like, I don't have the problem in front of me. No one's really qualified to answer that anymore. I would be very careful about what it is they want to be judged on in regards to something that's already being judged in long term. I see where you're going with it, and I bristle a little bit because I don't want the teams to be having hard conversations with people who are judging this and having to change things on the fly.
But then things understood, but then things like where it says like the scenery, you know, because there has to be, then you could say a specific aspect of scenery to be style.
I would say yes, you have more opportunity to have that judged. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Alva would like to know where buses park.
Hey, Michelle Breton, maybe you have a really good insight into that.
Well, probably I would say the back of the building might afford the best opportunity. But really, I would say anywhere that you feel like you fit. Actually, you know what might be a good spot is the parking lot to the side where we're going to have our judges park. If there's still room in that.
Yeah, Alva, let's maybe we ask I think there might be like 2 buses coming. Let's ask Jeremy. Can we email Jeremy that tonight? See if he can make a suggestion.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alva, we'll get you an answer. All right. Meanwhile, what else is happening? So many things. So many things. I don't know if you can tell, this is all like superhero themed this year. In the cafeteria, this cafeteria is amazing. It is huge. There's so much space. There's like a really cool, like Google-esque, like stair seating bleacher area here. Amazing. This is where I generally think that most of our teams will be hanging out for the day. I have a really, maybe don't like totally steal a table for the entire day. Like don't reserve something. There's going to be so much room in this cafeteria and down the hall to spread out. But for the most part, this is where teams are going to hang out. The Edward Little High School music boosters are going to be kind of offering snacks, lighter fare through the day for sale. That please feel free to buy from them. Helps out the music boosters, definitely. Our student board members this year are doing something super cool. We tried this like last summer. Summer maybe not a great time to do it. They're going to do Pinapalooza. So we have a couple of really eager high school students who love pin trading. If you've ever been to World Finals, you know this is a huge part of our culture, a huge part of our culture. And they want to share it with everybody. So they've been going to Worlds for a few years. They have a ton of pins they want to share. They're open to trading. They're open to just looking and hanging out. That's going to be in the afternoon in sort of this mezzanine area we have set aside. just up in the cafeteria. For those folks who just need some quiet time, we are setting aside a Fortress of Solitude this year. It is going to be in the library. And the library is right here, right down the street from the cafeteria to the library. In there, we'll have puzzles and games and coloring and just a really good spot with comfy chairs and couches for teens or adults to go in and just kind of chill for a little bit. Um, there's a really good chance you'll find me there at some point. So we are going to set that area aside for those kids that just need a little bit of a break. And then the other thing we're going to have sort of in this area, we are going to offer you a chance to suit up with our Odyssey merch. This is a shameless plug now. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm wearing one of the shirts. I went over and picked it up special just for this presentation. So we will have shirts and we'll have capes for Maine Odyssey of the Mind on sale. $15 for a shirt, $10 for a cape. These are my favorite shirts that we've done in a number of years. The Beetle shirts were really good a few years ago. I love these. We are also going to do this in a hoodie, 3 types of hoodies. Everything from I think we got youth small to I think we're going up to XL this year. We'll also have you'll be able to order these. So if size runs out, if we don't have what you're looking for size wise, you'll be able to order these. But we will have a bunch on hand for sale that day. I mentioned pins already. We are also going to have our pins too. I said pin culture is huge with Odyssey. If you've ever gone to World Finals, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This year, our pins were designed. This is a hat trick for this student. Elliot from Biddeford High School designed our pins again to go with our superhero theme. All of these pins are tied to a problem. They're also Maine animals. You're probably wondering, what does a rattlesnake and an octopus have to do with Maine? We actually Googled this at a board meeting. In the 1950s, Maine had a thriving rattlesnake population, believe it or not. They're now extinct. This is a time-traveling snake, though. So that snake clearly came from 1950. Pretty sure there was DeLorean involved. Showed up, and now it's superhero. And yes, there are octopi in the Gulf of Maine. Wikipedia, Googled it. It's totally true. It'll be $5 per pin. So if your student, your Omer, is in a problem and they want to remember it, you can buy the pin, or it's $24 for the set. My daughter, Andy, who's 11, said, yeah, that's a total deal, Dad. They don't even it should be 30. I'm like, no, it's 24. So it's less if you buy the set. These are great. These will also be going with us to World Finals for our teams that do decide to go. Those will be available for sale at States. And then after States, we'll be supplying those or offering those to our World Finals team. Now, here's what I love. We tried to do this last year, and then the weather was like, nah, we're not doing it. But we're bringing back the food trucks. So, Michelle, can you tell us what we're going to have and where it's going to be parked and some of the plans we have and honestly, what people can buy from these food trucks?
Yeah, we are super excited to have not 1, not 2, 3, 4, but 5 food trucks here. There was a big red triangle-ish shape in the middle of the parking lot map that Jason had pointed out earlier in the presentation, and that is where the food trucks are going to be located, right smack in front of the main entrance or just to the left of the main entrance. So we have Moe's Munchies, which does smash burgers and gourmet French fries. I'm super excited about those, actually. You can actually get, and this is provided, their menu is the same from what I saw on Facebook, so don't hold me to any of this, but you can actually get a flight of gourmet French fries that I'm pretty sure I have to check out.
Yeah.
So yeah, super cool. Cheese the Day is Jason's personal favorite. Grilled cheese sandwiches. Some Baddest barbecue is like pulled pork, shredded meats, that kind of a thing. Rolling in the Dough is pizza. And the Big Cat is Lucky Cat Coffee. They will be there earlier in the day. They do bubble waffles, which I don't even
know, but I want them. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have coffee, the boba drinks and things like that. Somebody asked earlier in the chat about cash for shirts and food. I know we can accept Venmo for our merch. I'm quite confident that most of the food trucks will be able to accept some sort of card payment. I do not know if the music boosters have that ability. So I would have some cash available for that because I really don't know where they're at with that.
Excellent. Yeah, you know what the worst part is for me? I'm gluten free. I can't eat any of this, Michelle. None of it. I'm just a big fan of fancy grilled cheese. That's all. Um, so why I would really love for you to go and partake is 10% of this money is going to come back to Maine Odyssey. We do a really good job of keeping our costs so minimal, so low. We break even every year. I'm really looking forward to how fast we can grow this program. And to do that, we need a little bit of money. And rather than ask for more from our folks, take part in what we're offering. Please patronize our food trucks because it is coming back to us and it's going to help us continue our programming and build it better for next year and for years beyond. And then
before you move
Michelle.
you move on, yep, there's a question in the chat. Is there gluten-free stuff or should we plan on bringing something? I would plan on bringing something. We can't
plan on bringing something. Yeah, I'm probably running over to Hannaford for some sushi. So
when the presentation comes out, my suggestion would be all 5 of those food trucks are on Facebook and you should be able to pull up a menu. So you might be able to scope out what their offerings are. But again, I wouldn't plan on those menus being the same as maybe what they advertised last summer. This is the beginning of the season for most of these food trucks. So it is a natural opportunity for them to make changes.
And no one, yeah, thank you. I would like a California roll, no soy sauce. Thanks, good. All right, so we are going to have BIW back again with us this year to do the Odyssey Engineering Expo. If you or your kid, I took part in it. If anyone you are related to took part in this was such a great opportunity for our kids to get access to technology and a trade they may not have had access to before. So we will have the build your own boat in their 3D printed wave tank. We'll have augmented reality sand tray, sort of teaching us how water moves given the geography in an area. And then we'll have virtual reality welding and spray coating. We actually are going to have a contest for these kids. So last year we awarded prizes, little 3D printed chips to the top 3 welders we had last year. The top 2 welders, I loved this. The top 2 welders we had were young girls who came in and absolutely killed it. And Glenn, who ran this program for us, one of the girls, Claire from York, she got like a 92. He goes, Jason, I don't even get a 92 and I've been welding. I had Glenn prove it to me and Glenn got an 88. So our kids are actually experiencing things and having, they're being exposed to something they haven't been exposed to before. We are going to have a few more machines there this year. This is going to be in the auxiliary gym. I think I said it correct. Starting at 2 o'clock. So after problem 2 is done, our kids can go in, kids and adults can go in and take part in what BIW is doing. It's a ton of fun. It's basically a giant video game. So please stick around and bring your kids to this if they have any sort of interest in video games or building stuff, which I can probably guarantee that's like 99% of our kids. So stick around, 2 o'clock, auxiliary gym for that. All right, the last thing we're going to get to, awards and world finals. All right, at awards, it's going to be in that very big, beautiful auditorium with tons of seating. I think it fits like 1,200 people, which is extremely dope. I would love to fill it. So just stick around. Weather's going to be nice. Who are we going to recognize? We're going to recognize our top welders and our top boat builders we just talked about from the BIW event. We'll also be handing out the Fern and Elmer Brown Service Excellence Award again this year. We started that award last year, named after our longtime association director, Fern Brown, and her husband, Elmer. Fern gave like 30, I think 35 years total to Odyssey. The least we can do is honor one of our spectacular volunteers With this award last year, we gave it to Miranda Engstrom, who ran our first ever Odyssey inclusive team. And this year, I'm very excited to give this award out. Really looking forward to handing this one to our recipient this year. We will also recognize our Omer and Renatra Fuster winners. The Omer Award, that is given to someone or a team or an individual who exemplifies the spirit of Odyssey of the Mind through good sportsmanship, highly positive attitude, being like a super dope helper, overcoming anything. Anyone can be nominated for an Omer at any time. We have forms to fill out on site at every one of our problems. If you see something amazing, a kid going out of their way to do something incredible, please nominate them. And then the Renatra Fusco Award. This is an award given by our judging teams, either in spontaneous or long-term, for exceptional creativity. This can include risk-taking. This can include things that worked, things that didn't work. Those are given by our judges. They are the highest honor we can bestow upon our teams. And again, exceptional creativity and risk-taking. Now, this is the time where Sherry, who hates talking on these, absolutely hates it. I asked Sherry, I'm like, Sherry, would you talk about the Hall Award? She's like, yes, absolutely. Actually, I think what she said is, yeah, I can do that. But I'm in her head, I'm pretty sure she was saying absolutely. Sherry, tell us what the Hall Award is and why we're giving that out this year.
Okay, the Hall Award is a small little token that Jason, myself, and Michelle Breton will be handing out throughout the day. The three of us, we have so many other roles to play during tournament that we don't get to see as many performances as we would like to. But we do get to see all the action in the hallways, the kids prepping for their performances, coaches working with their kids, parents. So this is just a small way for us to recognize something that we feel is above and beyond. Something like we may love a prop that a child has made. We may really appreciate how that coach is working with that team. So we will be giving these out to anybody. It could be a team member, a coach, a parent, anything that we see in the hallway that impresses us. We'll each be handing these out. And we have a limited number of them. So it's
special. Can I have 650, please?
No, we limited them so that Jason would not give one to everybody.
They don't let me judge anymore. This is the closest that Michelle, Sherry, and I are going to get to judging.
Exactly.
When Sherry brought this to me, she was like, hey, they do this thing at Comic-Con. And she didn't finish that sentence. I'm like, yes, we're doing that. I didn't care what it was. This is one of those awards. It's like, yeah, I won first. I won second. Great. I want these to become like I got a Hall Award. Like, dude, you're lucky. Yeah, it's our opportunity to recognize these kids. I will give hugs and high fives all day. I'm really looking forward to giving these. I'm grateful to Sherry for bringing it forward. So we'll do the Hall Awards, but we're also we'll also recognize our first, second, and third place teams from Maine, from New Hampshire, and from Massachusetts. They will all be all those first, second, and third place teams will be honored on stage with trophies and with medals. And that gets me to the last portion of the last official portion of tonight. Oh, that's right. I got to tell you this. Awards ceremony is not going to start any earlier than 5:30. So if you have parents wondering what time, hey, they want to go home, they've got other stuff going on, be back at the school at 5:30. We're not going to start before 5:30. We're going to give folks time to leave, to do what they have to do, grab an early dinner, and come back. We may start a little bit after 5:30, but based on the schedule, I'm thinking it won't start too much later than 5:30. Just be back on site if you want to be part of the awards ceremony at 5:30. You want to be a few minutes early, do that too. But we won't start any earlier than that. All right, now let's talk about World Finals. If you are a first, second, or Renatra winner, you are invited to World Finals. Say you are invited because it is an uplift. It is extending your year. It is a cost. So we do invite everybody who go to World Finals who came in first, second, or was a Renatra winner. Last year, we did not have the opportunity for our World Finals teams to compete before the deadline for World Finals. And we had 10 teams go. And there was a lot of like, ooh, do we deserve to be here? Maine had the best year we've had at World Finals in the last 15 years with teams that had a desire to go to World Finals. They all earned their way. I saw every one of their performances except for one. They all did a fantastic job. And we actually had a Maine team be honored that night at closing ceremonies. This is a picture of closing ceremonies, if you needed to know what that was. So we'll talk about where and when World Final will be. It's Michigan. It's the week before Memorial Day. We'll talk about the expectations we have of our teams and our coaches when and if you decide to go. We can talk about travel tips and logistics, and we'll talk a little bit about fundraising at an info session right after the awards ceremony. I expect this to run anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes. So those coaches that are interested who come in first, second, or win a Renatra, stick around for a little bit and we'll start the process. We'll give you the information you need in the immediacy. And then the following Thursday, we will have a larger virtual event where the teams that qualified can come and talk about what they need, ask the questions they need, and we can go more into depth about what it means to go to World Finals. But this session immediately after, it'll just be a level set to make sure that if you do want to go, you're comfortable, you have enough understanding to bring back to your coaches, bring back to your teams and your families if you do decide to go. And I mentioned like it's a ton of fun. We had one team from Maine be honored. This is us on Saturday night at a award ceremony. There's only like one tired face in this crew. The rest of everybody else was super happy to be there at 8 o'clock on Saturday night after a full week of sleeping in a dorm. I realize I'm not selling it right now. I'm just setting team expectations properly. And then this was our team that was announced 5th place in problem 5. Our team from Durham Community School. All of these kids are very close to my heart. They always were. Now they are really now. Such a great opportunity to see them recognized. We had a team from Biddeford who I think you guys came in 7th or 8th. Like you're right there, ready to be announced. So we had a great year. All that to say, we are going to have a great tournament. The weather looks nice. I'm not calling for a generational snowstorm that covers the entire region this year. It looks like it's going to be like a decent spring day in Maine in the beginning of April. With that, are there any other questions that people are dying to ask that we have not responded to in the chat? Lindsay, because you raised your hand, I'll call on you.
Thank you. I'm just double checking. It's first and second place that is immediately invited, and then the third place is like
third place is not invited to World Finals. So even if first and second decide not to go, we don't extend it to third.
Amazing. Okay, that's what I needed to know.
So for your structure team,
yep,
I know where you're going with Lindsay. I know where you're going with it.
As a only second year coach, that was a panic to see. Knowing
yeah, but you've been there before.
I mean, yeah, but not as the coach. I got the pleasure of doing that part. She was the coach in that situation. Thank you.
Any other questions about anything?
A couple questions in the chat. And Lindsay, it was my pleasure to bring you to Worlds, so don't you worry. As a coach, can we nominate a kid from our own team for an OMER award?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was the feedback online. You're welcome, Julie. It does look amazing. Tournament.
It really does.
Worked really hard on this, and we're all really excited about it. That might have been the last question that didn't get answered. I'm just scrolling through. Can we find info about the awards on the website?
Like who has won? Is that the question?
More about like the OMER and Renatra awards, like what are those qualification type nominations?
If you go to odysseyofthemind.com, go to our national website, yes, all of that information is there. There's even a really nice story about why it's called the Ron Trafuska Award. I'll give you a hint. The Ron Trafuska is a water bug. I'll just leave it there, and then you can go and see the whole story on odysseyofthemind.com. And that's the only Latin I know, by the way. All right, if there are, oh, Sherry, what?
Before we end this, I just wanted to ask the coaches that if they have had any new additions to their team members, to please let us know so we can have certificates ready for them on the day.
Yes, please. All right, folks, I'm going to change any questions to a thank you. We are so looking forward to this tournament on the 5th. It is my absolute favorite day of the year. Hands down, my family understands this. I've been doing this for 35 years and I've never been more excited for a tournament than I am this one. So have a great night. If you have questions, you can email us. You should have our email, at least mine by now. I will answer my texts and my phone calls and my Odyssey email faster than I will my work email for the next 10 days. If you need us, let us know. If you have questions, let us know. We're here for you, and we're looking forward to a great tournament. Have a